Finally, it feels like we have a definitive 3 3/4 inch Captain Rex. After all of this time. Well, it feels that way. I don't know that for sure because I haven't opened it yet. Here is the Star Wars The Bad Batch Clone Commander Rex Bracca mission figure from the Vintage Collection. Number one, I have to say, Clone Commander Rex? I know obviously he was promoted for the whole Siege of Mandalore mission, but didn't Jesse demote him? Wasn't he back to being a captain? I don't know, calling him Clone Commander Rex, like, he has no clones to command at all anymore. He's just Rex. You know, by the time of the Bad Batch, he is just Rex. So the whole card back and everything, the whole name, makes zero sense. It wasn't even really a captain at that point. Like, any figure of Rebels Rex, he's pretty much just Rex. He's not captain anymore, he's just Rex. So, yeah, very odd. But still, this Captain Rex, as, you know, I will immediately contradict myself and call him Captain Rex, this uses the brand new, like, Andor Clone Trooper body. I'm very excited to see how it translates to the most popular and iconic Clone Trooper character of all time. Obviously not my favorite, but I will definitely acknowledge he is the most popular and the most iconic. At this point, he absolutely is. Yeah, very interesting that they made him a Bad Batch themed figure, since we already do have a Bad Batch Captain Rex in Vintage Collection. Even though we also already have a Clone Wars Captain Rex in Vintage Collection, because they repackaged that Black Series 3 3/4 inch one on a TVC card back a while ago. And don't worry, I will compare it to all of those. I actually found this guy at a Walmart, very surprisingly, and they had 4 of them. So I was able to pick the one with the best helmet paint. Some of them had like some blue in the visor, and the other one was just a little misaligned, but this one is looking pretty good, in my opinion. That's definitely looking pretty good. Seems to have a pretty standard, modern, nice-looking Tamora Morrison head sculpt. And other than that, it uses the Andor body, and so far it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Alright, back of the card just shows us the figure. And the bio reads, presumed dead at the dawn of the Empire, Rex operates in the shadows, helping any clone brothers who remain separate from the Imperial ranks. Yeah, pretty cool. I do dig that they went back to the original TVC style card back, but I miss that the original style showed the first version and not just the thing you're buying. I don't know, kind of odd. But anyways, yeah, let's get this guy opened up. I do like the card back. I enjoy that the color is blue. I mean, for Captain Rex, that's his color. He's blue. So I appreciate that. I don't know, they could have maybe picked the, you know, complementary color, like orange or yellow, blonde even, to match his hair, but I'm happy they went with blue. Makes sense. I debated buying a second one of this Rex, because I did see 4 of them at Walmart to keep carded, but I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling this one enough to keep carded. The card back isn't as interesting, and I just honestly just want a nice Rex on the shelf after all this time. Because I've always felt like we've kind of been struggling with Rex. You know, we've seen several different versions of Phase 2 Rex, and I feel like this is the first one that actually does a pretty decent job of trying to be a nice Captain Rex. So here is that ever-annoying little pamphlet that they always have to include. The helmet, interestingly, is not a helmet, but rather an alternate head. They went the style of like modern Mandalorian figures and just made it an interchangeable head. So that's pretty interesting, but I'm sure, yep, that does give us a flip-down rangefinder, which I appreciate. And then the figure itself seems pretty standard Andor clone fare, you know. Very loosey-goosey pauldron. That might be something I glue down, but every time I say that, I usually don't even bother. I don't. But yeah, the figure itself seems pretty nice. Good use of that Andor body for sure. Definitely digging that. And then he's got his 2 little DC-17s that I'm sure I'll have to cut out. Because, of course I will. They're just in these tiny little tape capsules. Alright, this is actually our first look at the Andor mold used for a more complex clone design. Because typically it's just been standard clone repainted. But now we have one with like a comma and a pauldron. Alrighty, so my first impressions of this Rex are relatively positive. Definitely, you know, this pauldron. You can take that or leave that. You can actually take it off if you want him to look like a later Bad Batch Rex. That's pretty cool. I do enjoy that he ended up ditching the pauldron, because that just kind of alludes to how his armor evolved into what you see in Rebels. I'm just surprised, though, that in the Bad Batch, like you can see on the card back, he doesn't have the bullet hole in the pauldron anymore. And I always assumed the whole reason that he got rid of the pauldron was because he had the big bullet hole in it from the Siege of Mandalore, but whatever. He does have his DC-17s. They seem to be as tiny as ever. Very small. That's interesting. He's got... Does the Andor clone always have an in and out at this wrist? Is that normal? Is it? Yeah, that's normal. I forgot. That's odd. I figured it'd be up and down for both, but oh well. Not the end of the world. Seems to be pretty easy to get these little guns in, though, and he seems to be holding them very nice. Definitely appreciate that. Even the fingers are going in the trigger holes. Alright, so the articulation is definitely just the Andor clone articulation we've come to know already. Definitely moves around pretty good, looking pretty nice. I do appreciate the fabric skirt, so it will fully move out of the way, and you'll be able to pose him in more action-oriented poses. And I definitely enjoy this head sculpt. Like, that looks really good. That is definitely the nicest looking 3 3/4 inch Rex we have ever seen. I'm definitely a fan of that. And don't worry, we will compare this Rex to all of the other Phase 2 Rex figures, because I want to see how it stacks up. I mean, obviously, I think it's going to be the best. One funny thing, though, we've had 3 Vintage Collection Captain Rexes, and all of them have been Phase 2. Isn't that odd? And one of the very few canceled clone figures, and I always feel the need to point this out, was a Phase 1 Rex, and it looked great. I would still love to see that. Even though it's using the older body, I don't care. I'm sure nowadays they would just use the newer body, but that looks nice, man. I would love a Phase 1 Rex in TVC. I would love that. Alright, I want to give him the helmet. I want to see how he looks with the helmet. So we'll just pop off this Tamora Morrison head. Rest in peace. The funny thing is I'll probably display this Rex with the helmet on. So I'm just going to have this Tamora Morrison head just sitting on the shelf or sitting in a tub. Alright. That is looking very good. Yeah, I'm digging that. I definitely enjoy that they went the interchangeable head route, because that makes the helmet look far more properly proportioned. And it just looks really nice. I mean, I don't think it's perfect. I think my biggest complaint is that the weld marks seem a little bit too gold and a little bit too broad, but they don't look bad. I mean, I can't really complain that he has like nice shiny bits on the helmet, but it just looks a little too prominent in my opinion. Could have been a little bit more subdued, especially since some of the other ones subdued it a little bit better. Yeah, that looks good. The mouth is printed in the right spot. I'm happy with that. I'm definitely happy with that. Oh, that's odd. So his belt piece has the cod piece molded onto it, and then he has the he has no normal cod piece underneath. That is weird, dude. Is that how the normal Andor works? Is that like how the belt is attached? Yeah, that looks that way. Okay, so now we have a little insight on how this figure is developed. So, yeah, the cod piece is attached to the belt. And it seems like on this, either they didn't glue it enough or they didn't glue it at all. Yeah, that should be like attached. That's very odd. That is very, very odd. Alright. This doesn't seem that bad, though. Doesn't seem that bad. Can he do the pose? We haven't really had a Captain Rex that can do the pose. I don't know if this one's posable enough to do it. Kinda. A little bit. He can kinda do it. Not the greatest, but he kind of can. He can kind of pull it off. This is definitely, in my opinion, the best 3 3/4 inch Rex. But I want to see how he looks with all of the others. Alright, so time to compare. How does he look next to the original animated version? The original animated one was notorious for having a massive helmet. And it wasn't even removable either. It looks pretty good. Definitely looks good. I think the pauldron might be a little too big and a little too, like, broad on the new one. I don't know. I might do some pauldron swaps and see how that looks. With the international exclusive Bendy Knee Rex, yeah, I can still see he has the massive helmet. But, yeah, I definitely see where, like, the smaller pauldron might benefit the newer Rex. I don't know. Like, the newer Rex, he's definitely still got a very massive pauldron, and I feel like it definitely kind of throws off, especially the smaller helmet he has. With the original Saga Legends 5 POA Rex, and you can see the paint is so much better. I mean, it's an old Saga Legends, no-brainer. But I feel like, especially again, you can see, I think the smaller pauldron really might benefit the newer Rex. I'm going to see if I can get him a smaller pauldron, because I think he could use it. With the Black Series 3 3/4 inch and Vintage Collection Rex, you can see the proportion on this one is very odd. Because this one actually had an opposite problem where the helmet was a little too small and they could never paint the mouth right. But on top of that, he just had these very broad shoulders and he just, he still had swivel hips. He just was very kind of dated for what he was. I mean, you can see he still has a lot of the nice accurate details. The weld marks on the stomach. He's got the little tallies on the legs, but the new one has that too, I definitely think between these two, the newer one takes the cake. But again, I'm a broken record. I want to see what it looks like with that pauldron swapped. And last and definitely not least, because we had a Saga Legends to compare. We have the Bad Batch Captain Rex. This one I kind of customized a little bit. I took off the cloth and I gave him a spare Black Series pauldron because this Captain Rex, his pauldron was one without the blue on it because I guess in the concept art he did actually remove that when it got shot. But in the show they decided to just roll with that. So I did give him a more proper pauldron and he does have the very awesome binoculars look. And he actually has a very nice looking helmet, albeit it's a little large. It is a nice looking helmet. I do also want to compare how these guys look without the helmets and kind of see if this helmet can fit on the new head. Alright, so we've got the new one with the helmet off. We can remove this helmet and we can see the Bad Batch Captain Rex was very odd because he still had the dyed hair, but it wasn't shaved like it should have been. He actually had a full head of clone trooper hair, so that head was absolutely not accurate whatsoever. But I'm really curious, how does this one look with this helmet? Number one, it does fit on, and it actually doesn't look that bad. It's a little oversized, as you can tell, it is too large, but it definitely doesn't look bad in getting that down as well. Yeah, that's a nice looking Umbara Captain Rex, if you want to give yourself an Umbara Rex in your collection. And alrighty, I've teased it enough. I need to see how the new one looks with the older style pauldron. Do we have to pop his head off? Yoink! Alright. Here, let's put the bigger pauldron on this guy. Let's see how that looks. Because I will seriously keep him with a smaller pauldron if I think it looks a lot better. I will seriously keep it. Alright, so bigger helmet, bigger pauldron. I think that looks pretty good. It kind of bulks out the slender body, because this is that more slender clone body. I'm happy we did get a Rex on the slender body. Alright, and let's see how our new TVC Rex looks with the smaller pauldron. Here, let me just go ahead and pop that off. Well, I don't know about you, but I think that's looking better. I definitely think that smaller pauldron does look better on the new one. I want to see how he looks with the helmet, too, with the smaller pauldron. Because that might make or break it. Because if the smaller pauldron is, proportionally different, where the helmet doesn't really want to fit on right. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I feel like the neck is way too short on this new one. He's not complying with this new pauldron as well. Yeah, you can see he's kind of tilted off to the side. But honestly, if we can get that helmet straight, I think with a smaller pauldron, can we get it straight? I feel like there's just a little bit of wiggle room where it's really struggling right there. But hey, if we can get the helmet straight, I think we might have a winner on our hands. Yeah, that, in my opinion, looks a lot better. I think it looks a lot better smaller. I might keep him with this pauldron. But we do have some other pauldrons I can try. We've got the animated one. So this pauldron comes from the very first animated Rex. And I think this looks a lot nicer too. Because you can tell it's a little smaller. It's not sticking up as much. It's not as big. It doesn't float around as much, especially with the helmet on. You can see, looking at the bigger pauldron here, I think this is the go-to pauldron. I really like that. But to conclude the video, let me put the original pauldron back on. I'll probably keep him with this animated one, though, because I think it looks a lot better. So what do I think of the new Vintage Collection Clone Commander Rex? I think it's really great. I really don't have any significant problem with it. Even my whole pauldron thing where I was popping and swapping pauldrons, I wasn't trying to fix a major problem. I just feel like this bigger pauldron would look a little better if it was kind of smaller. I don't know. I mean, you could just glue it on too if you want. That's not that big of a problem. But you do have the option, I actually forgot to show, where you can have him without the pauldron and have him look like he did at the end of the Bad Batch. Very much appreciate this option as well. I think he looks really nice with this too. I don't know how I'll display mine. I'll probably display it with the pauldron because it's the most iconic look for him. But yeah, you know, you always have the choice to glue it if you want. You can pop it, you can swap it. I think the choice of having an alternate helmet head instead of just a helmet you put on and off really benefited the look because it made the print more higher quality. Because they always struggle to print on those rubbery heads. Like, they always end up, like the rubbery helmets, they always end up goofing it up somehow. I think that was a good choice. The Tamora Morrison head sculpt is really good. This is a really excellent new clone body. I'm very happy we got a Rex out of it. I hope we get a Cody too, because we have not seen a new Commander Cody figure in, like, what, 15 years, if not longer? I think 2008 was the last time we saw it, right? So 16, actually. Yikes. The last Commander Cody we got has been, like, what, 2008? Oh, but there's the Vintage Collection one. It was the same figure. It was the same figure. I'm not counting it. Let me know what you think of this new Rex down in the comments below. I'm really interested to see what you think about it. Special shout out to channel members as always. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.